But yeah, like I said yesterday, I just wanted to talk to you about your experience at the Super Bowl and of course just emotions and mentality wise going into the game. 'Cause I know I'm sure that first week leading up to it, what were the emotions? Did you get sleep? Were you able to focus on the game? How was that like?
Well, I was always, man. I always learned just to breathe, and relax, and never got too hyped about anything because, you know, the good thing that Bill Walsh always coached us and say you got to be level headed. You can't let yourself get overly excited, you know, uh, because that's when you do try to do things, you try to do too much.
Mm.
And so he did a good job of making sure that, hey, treat it like another week, because that first week is practice anyway. You practice hard that first week just like you would prepare for another game. Then the distractions come when you fly into the city, and you got to do all the press conference, all the media. The media wasn't nothing like it is today, but
Mm.
still, for that time in our lives, the media, to get that much media attention, since especially in Super Bowl 16, none of us had ever experienced that. The coaches, the organization, because that was the 49ers first Super Bowl.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm interested to know, speaking about that, for the first Super Bowl, you have guys like what Xavier Worthy, is it going to be his first Super Bowl for
Right.
this?
Uh-huh.
Moro Ojimo,
Yeah.
all these
Hey,
guys.
but I got to give a shout out to my boy Samaje Perine
Yes,
because
Hendrickson.
I taught school at Hendrickson for 17 years when he was there. Yeah.
Okay, so did you coach Samaje?
I didn't coach football.
Okay, you
I
just
didn't coach football. I coached basketball and track.
okay.
Yeah.
So actually, if you want to just did you teach him specifically? Was he in one of your classes?
Oh, no, 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 no.
Okay, okay,
I
okay.
was a special ed teacher.
Oh, I didn't know that. My mom was sped
Yeah.
for 20 years.
Yeah. I taught SPED for 25 years.
That is
Yeah.
awesome. I bet you got some crazy stories.
Yeah. I got some, but you know what? But the guys I coached in basketball and the guys that in special ed, because I didn't give them an out,
Mm.
because the thing about special education, I'm sure your mom will tell you this, you got to have expectations of the students. When you sit there and treat them like they're special, then they're not going to give you much. You got to have expectations, and you got to talk to them like you really want something for them.
Mm.
And that's where, and I talk to my boys today and say, hey, coach, we got to get together. We got to get together. I didn't understand then, but I understand now. And I wish we had coaches that would give us life lessons like you gave us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. And
Yeah.
so on that topic though, if you were to give life lessons or a lesson to Samaje before his first Super Bowl, if you can go back and tell him, hey, this is what I would have done, what would that be?
Well, the thing is just be yourself and play hard. Play like you play every game. Because when you start trying to do too much, that's when you make mistakes. You know, don't treat it, don't let your mind get caught up the fact that it's a Super Bowl. You know, go into try know that it's a Super Bowl, that you can't you have to know the playbook. You have to know, if you're a running back, just like I was in the first Super Bowl, you have to work with the lineman for all the blitz pickups. And the thing about it, you have to understand what the quarterback see, what the linemen see, and just know where the blitzes are coming from. And if you know where the linemen, who they're responsible for in the blitz, it's easy for you to have a blitz pickup
Mm.
to help them. If you need to chip, with one of the star defensive linemen or something like that before you release, uh, just like that catch he made at the end of the game last week. Those are things that you have to know, that coaches go over. Hey, clock management. They go over clock management. Hey, stay in bounds. We need the clock to run, but also go out of bounds when we need the clock to stop. You don't need that extra 5 yards, but we may need that extra 5 seconds. You know, so
Yeah,
stuff like that.
got you.
Yeah,
And
and
I've
you
always
you
no, you continue.
and
What do you
and,
say?
and you got to. the thing about a Super Bowl, you don't get a chance for a second chance.
Mm.
You got to make the play when it's there. Kind of like, I'm sure you watch basketball too, and Coach Rodney Terry is a good friend of mine. Uh, you got to make the play because you might not get a chance, especially when you get to the tournament. You can make mistakes during the conference, but if you make mistakes during the tournament, it's one and go home. Same thing with the Super Bowl. Same thing with the Super Bowl and the playoffs. When once you make that mistake, it's no coming back. But when you have 17 games in front of you, you can make a mistake that may cost you 2 or 3 games. As long as you finish 14-3 or 13-4, you good. But you don't have that in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's win or go
Yeah,
home at that point. And
yeah.
I've always been curious, when you're in the Super Bowl, does it feel or is it just another game when the game's going on?
Oh man, it's special, man. It's hyped. It's hyped. The crowd are loud. They want their team to win. Man, it's so loud. It's so hyped, and you wonder how you can bring yourself down to even just play the game, because even though you might not be hyped, the fact that it's the Super Bowl and the fans and where you are, man, it just makes it. It's a special feeling that you can't get from no other game. You know.
Yeah, so even like you're talking, because I'm thinking like second quarter, third quarter, when you're in the midst of it, you can still feel the aura of this being
Oh
a
yeah.
okay.
Oh yeah, you can still feel that, man, and the pressure is there. You just can't let the pressure get to you. You know what I'm saying? You got to make that catch. You know, you don't do extra. You know, if your play is taking you into the flow, that's what you do. Don't do nothing extra that's going to cause you to fumble, or you're going to get hit because those guys want to win. You got to just make that tough catch knowing that you're going to take a big hit. And
And
we had guys that were locked in. And what I'm going to say now before I forget,
mhm.
in 81 Super Bowl 16, we I'm sorry. We didn't know anything about the Super Bowl. Everything was new to us. But in 84, we had expectations of what the Super Bowl was. So, and going into the first Super Bowl, we were just green. I'm like, okay, here we go. It's a new experience. But and we just flew by the seat of our pants, and just believe everything that the coaching staff coached us to do. And I think we had an edge because we had beat Cincinnati earlier that year at Cincinnati. So, uh,
Take
yeah,
that for what you can. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm curious to know with a team like the Chiefs, I mean, I guess both teams, because they've both been in the Super Bowl within the last 5 years multiple times. Was there a benefit your second time going? Did you see a difference? Did you feel a difference having that prior experience?
Well, you felt the difference because you had been there before and
Mhm.
you knew what to expect. We didn't know what to expect the first time, coaching staff, organization, or anything, because well as me being my first time and a lot of people first time, it was everybody's first time, even the organization. But going into Super Bowl 19, we had a successful year the year before, and we got beat in the championship game by the then Redskins, and then by 3 points at Washington. And then the next year, it's something about losing that championship game. It gives you that drive for the offseason. Like, everything is purposeful as far as working out, lifting weights, uh, thinking about the year, thinking about where you could have been. It really fires you up to get ready for the next season. That's what it did to us when you lose that. You come up shorthanded on that championship game. But yeah, we in '84 we were good. We knew we was at the top of the NFC, uh, and we just. And the thing is, we didn't blow everybody out. We won. We won by like like the Chiefs are winning this year. We didn't blow everybody out. We just managed to win. We knew how to manage to win the game.
Why do you think
And
that is?
I'm gonna say this
Yeah.
as a player, you know, you you have the best seat in the house, man, to watch the best guys in the world play. You know what I mean? I mean, like Michael Carter, Fred Dean, Ronnie Lott, Eric Wright, Hacksaw Reynolds, you know, who else? Like you see a lot of these guys sitting on the bench now. Man, I was standing up there so I could watch the game, like I'm sitting in my living room because I wanted to take it all in. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, I still pinch myself sometimes. Like I had a front row seat to some of the greatest players in the world. And even of course you had to be attentive when you wasn't in the game with Joe Montana, Dwight Clark, Freddie Solomon, Roger Craig, Wendell Tyler. I'm sure you've heard of all those guys, but to be there with those guys and have a team like that and not recognizing what it was about when you were playing with them, but you look back on it now. And I got to play, with Jerry. I was going out when I played 1 year with Jerry Rice, so, great guys, man. I mean, not only great guys, we had great team chemistry, you know, great team chemistry. That goes a lot too. And we had a glue tight end named Charlie Young, that was with us, that had been in the Super Bowl before, that was trying to explain stuff to us and how we should handle stuff. So he stepped up in leadership role for us. Yeah.
I'm interested to know. You mentioned how that team, I believe you said 84 was when y'all won, but y'all didn't win heavily. Like it wasn't
Right.
blowout wins. You see that with the Chiefs. What makes teams be able to do that, to just win in these situational games, even though it's not blowout wins, but it's like y'all just figure out a way to win. What do you think is that recipe?
I think it's timely, and I think your defense have to come with the big plays at the right time. Basically, uh, because you watch the Chiefs play, which I try to do every chance I get, and for some reason, you can run all over them, but then when they get down to that red zone defense, man, people just can't get it across the goal lines. And it would always hammer it into us that, hey, we can't win on field goals. When we get into the red zone, we have to score touchdowns. Because if you get down there and kick 2 field goals, all it takes is one touchdown to go ahead of you. You might pile up 200 yards. The other team might only have 50 yards, but if they score a touchdown, it don't matter how good you're looking on offense. And that's the big thing we were doing. And we could sustain drives with, like a lot of people back then wasn't doing the what they call the West Coast offense. And we would just here and there, throw here, throw there, 5 yards, and a cloud of dust, and you know that's what we were doing.
Uh, the other thing I wanted to ask you about was the ability to be able to not only win clutch games, but also trust that your coach is able to call the right plays, get you all in the right positions. You see that with Andy Reid a lot, and we talked about this on the phone. What
Right.
made Bill Walsh so good at that, and why do you think Andy Reid has been able to be so successful? Because Patrick Mahomes said he owes everything to Andy Reid.
Well, first of all, these guys are a student of the game, and they're masters of the game. And you have to be a master of breaking down. I couldn't imagine the amount of film that Bill Walsh watched. I couldn't imagine the amount of film that Andy Reid watched. You know, and to get your players, be able to relate to your players, to get them to lock in on everything that you're talking about. Of course, we didn't have the guaranteed money back like they have now. We had the fear factor that you had to know your playbook. You made a mistake. You made too many mistakes. You may have not been there on Monday. You may have got called in on Sunday night or early Monday morning. Uh, but you just have to know your assignments once they put the motion in place. I mentioned, and sometimes game plans don't work. I mentioned 1983 when we lost to the Redskins. We scrapped the whole game plan at halftime
Hmm.
and went to a new game plan in the second half. I don't know if you looked into it, but we were down 21-0 at half, and we came back and tied them 21-21 with a scrap the game plan. We just say, hey, we going back to just basics. We're not going to do all this fancy stuff that we talked about. So you have to know your prior game plan, but you have to remember all the plays that you have done over and over and over. And the good thing about Bill and the good thing about Andy, they have about 25 plays that you should know verbatim. That's your primary offense, and then everything else you borrow from this team, you borrow from that team, you see what worked against them the previous Sunday, so you can move it on and put it in your own way, instill it in, implement it in your offense.
And while the game's going on, are there conversations on the sideline like, "Hey, we're in the Super Bowl," or is it still trying to keep
Oh
everybody?
no, we treat it like it's a regular game. Hey, we don't say, hey, this is a Super Bowl here, but we got to do this. This is a Super Bowl. We have to do that. We say, hey, man, hey, let's make a play. Let's get this win. Let's get this first down. You know, special teams, do your part. And we're gonna and we'll come out of here victorious. Yeah.
And when you do, let me know after you won the Super Bowl, what was just that emotions like?
Oh man, it's one of those things that, first of all, as a player, you never think you're going to get there because it's very hard to get there. That's why I admire these guys that's been there 3 years in a row. It makes for a short off season, but hey man, it's a feeling like, hey, you're the best in the world. You're on the team that's the best in the world for football right now. And then to the fun part was knowing that the whole world is watching. You just won, and then your friends, family, and loved ones, which it wasn't like I said, we didn't have social media back then. I'm like, oh man, I'm on TV. My friends from high school and my teammates from college and high school are watching me, and that was a big deal back then. Yeah, and it was just, and you can just walk around on a cloud all off season, and it's hard because, hey, after we win the Super Bowl, we got to get back to work. We got to get in the weight room. You know what I'm saying? And I can say for me, I came at a time where there was a lot of things in the NFL that they had to straighten up. That's not allowed now, but I never took nothing extra to gain strength, gain weight, anything else, all natural. And that's what I pride myself on throughout my career is I played hard, I worked hard, I prepared hard, and it's all natural. No, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
No
yeah, yeah.
steroids, no nothing. Just a good meal and a glass of milk.
Yeah,
Hey, that's all. Hey, Corey, that's all this farm work, digging
yeah,
post
that's
holes
what
and
I'm saying.
hauling
That's
hay.
that farm strength, dog. That's
Yeah,
that farm strength.
digging post holes and hauling hay. Man, the first time I ever touched free weights, man, I dang near broke my sternum doing bench press. I dropped it in my chest, and I'm like, oh my goodness, you know. Hey
Like,
Corey,
how do you do this?
hey Corey, but
Yeah.
I was real strong as far as doing
Mm,
this because that's how you haul hay, that's how you dig post holes, and you know, so I had the strength to pull up, but
yeah.
I didn't have the strength to push out. So I had a lot to recover because I graduated in 76.
Okay.
So we didn't have weight rooms and stuff back then like kids have now. I mean, high
Yeah,
schools now are just high tech, man.
yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, they're better than some colleges,
Yeah. And
you
so,
know. So I had a lot to learn when I got to Rice University.
mm,
And I what a lot of people don't know, Corey, is I turned down UT to go to Rice.
mm. Why'd you do
You
that?
know, you know why? I came from a small town, Lexington, Texas. I didn't have a bunch of stats. I played every position on the field. Never had a chance to rest. It was 1A school back then. And I didn't have a lot of stats like a Billy Sims or a James Overstreet, you know. So Earl Campbell had 2 more years. Johnny Lamb Jones and I came out the same age, and he was a running back. I mean, what am I going to do? Get switched to strong safety? Johnny Johnson was an All-American running back at LaGrange,
Mm,
and he ended up playing strong safety. So I'm like, I want to play,
yeah.
and so and I didn't want to get lost in the shuffle at a big school. So I could have went to Lamar University, but I chose Rice, and I'm like, okay. I tell you what, though, after that old Southwest Conference, I wish I'd have been, wish I wouldn't have started my freshman year. It's a different thing between country strong and weight strong.
Yeah, yeah. You gotta push around a
Those,
little bit.
hey, those guys were hard.
I already
Yeah,
know. I bet they
yeah,
were. Uh,
yeah.
a couple more questions for you. You are very unique in a way of you won a Super Bowl and had to figure out a way to get back to it. You just mentioned how it's tough after celebrating and you got to get back in the
Right.
weight room and start all over. But then you also were on the other side of the coin, like the Eagles are, and they lost the Super Bowl and having that motivation going into
No,
that.
no, I lost the championship.
Okay, NFC Championship.
Yeah,
Got you. So you lost the NFC Championship, and so now you have to have that motivation going into it. Does that kind of make it what the Chiefs are doing even more incredible to think because you're coming off that high and you know it's going to be hard to come down from that high and do it all over again? And the fact that they have a chance to do it 3 times straight, how does that make you
right.
feel?
Well, and the biggest thing too, Corey, is the distractions after the Super Bowl. You
Mm.
know, you spend all that time, you full of yourself, man. We world champions, we Super Bowl champions, and then I'm sure I wasn't a superstar, but I'm sure people like Patrick Mahomes, Kelsey, and different people, even with the 49ers, how do you find time to work out when everybody is pulling you in different directions? So you got to balance all that and come back and to work out and run and lift weights. And it's easier to go to a dinner than to want to go to the weight room and spend 5 hours. You know what I mean? So you have to refocus on all that. And the tough part about it right now is 3 years in a row, just like I'm just going to say LeBron James, just like Patrick Mahomes, you have a super short offseason. It's just like now, the guys that finished their regular season and didn't make the playoffs, they've had a month and a half rest already,
Mhm.
where you hadn't even rested yet. These guys are bored, chomping at the bits, getting ready for the next season, and you hadn't even finished because you're in the Super Bowl. And that's what wears a lot of people down. So you have to take your hat off to people that constantly make the playoffs and extended playoffs, and you play the last game of the year because everybody else is rested while you hadn't even started to begin to rest yet. And what a lot of people don't understand is just important to relax your mind as to relax your body. And that's the hard part, is getting up for this all the time. And these guys have played what, 19, 20 games,
Mhm.
for 3 years in a row. And you got some guys complaining because they got to start 12 games. And it's just that you get through in December, that's fine. But now you getting through in February, and these guys had a month and a half rest, and that makes a lot of difference. People don't understand it, but these guys, and they have so much stuff now that help you relax, help you recover, that we didn't have back in the day, but we didn't know any better, so we just did it. Yeah.
And lastly, for you, that week leading up, did you have to turn off your phone? Did you have to like not talk to people to focus? What was your kind of way to get into the mode?
Corey, you forget how old I am.
I
We
know.
didn't we didn't
You got me. You got a point there. Yeah, you got me. You got me.
we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have social media, we didn't have
Yeah.
Facebook. But as far as my house phone, people knew how dedicated I was, how focused I was. Uh, so during that week, I called them. They didn't call me.
Mm.
Yeah. And my family and my classmates, my teammates from high school and college, they respected me on that because they knew from high school and from college just how focused I was as far as getting ready for game time. I used to tell my even in high school, even when I coached, I say, guys, I say I'm hard to deal with on game day because when I wake up with an attitude. And if you ask my guys right now, hey, what does Coach Cooper wake up with? And they'll tell you, wake up with attitude. They said, why are you so mean on game day? I said, no, I'm just focused and I have an attitude because we need to go out there and kick behind and take names. And one thing I used to tell my guys, I never used the clock. And this is one of my analogies. I never used the clock to time them when we were in line drills. You know what I told them?
What?
Champions don't need no clock.
Hmm.
Think about that. Champions don't need no clock. Long as you give me all that can give me, I don't need to put a clock on you.
Cause you should
Long
be.
as you give me your best, I don't need to put a clock on you. And I gave him the boxing analogy. I say, who's worried about the 3 minutes being up? The guy that's getting whooped or the guy that's doing the whooping? So champions don't need no clock.
That's a good one right there. I like that. I
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
What's it like
So,
seeing a Hendrickson grad do his thing?
hey man, it's great. It's great. I try to. I pulled for him in high school. I pulled for him. I saw him when he was in junior high, and I'm like, this guy has greatness all over him. And to pull for him, I mean, it's nothing like it. And every time, even though I didn't coach football at Hendrickson, every time I see him, I'm just, my chest stuck out, and I'm just so proud of him and the man that he is, the husband that he is, and the father that he is, and the teammate that he is. I mean, because what people don't know, they when they see us make it, they think it's easy, but it's not. You know, you spend a lot of time from your family. Uh, a lot of team time taken away from your family. You have to balance that. And I think Samaje has been with 2 or 3 different teams, and that's taking your family here, taking your family there. You uprooting your family. You know, I take my hat off to Meg, his wife, and kids, and his supporting cast, his mom that helps them with all this. You know, and keep them grounded and help them adjust to everything they need to do to for this special kind of career.
And you said in junior high you saw him. What any stories that you're like, oh, he's gonna be
Oh, he was just a man among boys. That's all I can say. Yeah, and he was fast. I mean, yeah, he a man among boys, and you can just see that when he was in, when he was in. But I'm glad that that the coaches were patient with him his freshman year and didn't try to push him into a role that that uh, you would have broken.
mm.
You know, a lot of players when they're good in junior high, they get moved up too soon. And hey, you take a bunch of hits from seniors and you're a freshman, you might not want to come back and and play as hard as you used to play. Yeah. So
Gotcha.
yeah, man.
That's awesome. Last thing for you, I promise. What is one vivid memory as the confetti's coming down? What do you remember about that moment?
We didn't have confetti, Corey.
Y'all didn't have confetti?
Nah.
What did y'all
But
what?
I'm gonna tell you like this: when the final when the hit when the clock struck zero, and
Yeah.
I know that we had won, because Cincinnati came back on us. We
Mm-hmm.
kind of blew Miami out, 38-16, I think. Uh, but with Miami, it was not Miami. With Cincinnati, it was more tooth and nail at the end. We beat them 26 to 20 or 21. Anyway, uh, it was just pure excitement, exuberance that we had won first time there. Because Bill would tell us, "Hey, it's not a Cinderella story unless Cinderella walk off the field a champion." Because people start telling, oh, a Cinderella 49ers, a Cinderella 49ers, but it's not a Cinderella story
Mhm.
unless Cinderella wins in the end. And man, I tell you what, I jumped kind of like when I was drafted and didn't know I was going to get drafted. I think I jumped up and think I was a cheerleader or something, man, pointing my finger number one and all that good stuff. And it was just in disbelief, man, that a little kid from Lexington, Texas, population 1,100, you know, uh, didn't even know I was going to get recruited to college. Didn't know I was going to get drafted in the first round by the 49ers, uh, by a man they quoted, deemed a genius, and then play in the Super Bowl, 2 years later.
That's awesome. And then
Yeah.
catching Joe Montana's first ever Super Bowl.
Touchdown pass. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
still hold that on him sometimes? Like, hey, watch yourself. I'm the one that caught your first touchdown.
Oh no, Joe. Joe's so cool, man. He. No, I don't even think he know that he threw the first one to me. So he after he done threw so many,
Yeah.
you know. But the thing is, man, the good thing about Joe just never walked around like he was a superstar. Everybody was humble, great teammates, great team chemistry. You call up anybody right now, they're glad to hear from you. The ones of us that's there. But the thing is, right now for me, going to alumni games is like a double-edged sword. Some of these guys I hadn't seen since I was 26, 27 years old. And now we, late 60s or early 70s, and that's all I'm gonna say about that. But it's still good, man.
Different time back then, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a blessed man.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Yes, sir.
I really appreciate you for taking the time to talk to me. You're
All right,
awesome,
man.
dude, and it's a blessing to
I,
meet you.
I appreciate it, man. If you have any other questions, just give me a call on my phone, and I'll answer it for you.
I definitely will. Appreciate you,
Okay.
Earl.
All right, man. I can't wait to come hang with y'all.
Hey, look, that's what I'm saying. We need you in
Keep my
studio.
number.
We need you in
Keep my
studio.
number.
Okay, sounds
Okay.
good. We would
Say
love
hi to Jeff for me. Say hi to Jeff for me too.
I definitely will.
I'll be watching him too.
I got you.
Y'all keep
I'll
on.
tell him you say
Y'all
hi
keep
today.
on keeping on, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All
Well,
right.
who you got, by the way? You got Chiefs or Eagles?
Well, hey, I got to roll with Samaje.
That's true.
I got
Hometown.
to roll with Samaje. I got to pull for Samaje and Worthy.
Okay. Sounds like a
Yeah,
plan.
I got to get with Samaje. I got to go with the Chiefs. But actually, I can't lose because Jalen, Jalen and Saquon, they deserve to win one too.
Hmm.
But you can only have one winner, and I got to pull for Samaje first of all, and hope they get back next year and get theirs.
Yeah. Hey, when I
Yeah.
see you next time, I want you to have that ring on.
All right, I can go get it right now, man.
But I want to see it in person.
Okay.
I want to see it
No,
in person.
whenever we set it up, I will wear it.
Sounds
I'll
good.
make sure I wear it. I
All
only
right.
have one left. I gave my son my first one.
Wow. Shout
Yeah,
out. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
That's a good father.
I
Father of the
don't
year
tell.
right
Yeah, and that's all I'm gonna say about that.
there. All right there, Earl. I hope you have a great day, Doc. Nice
All
talking.
right, man. You take care, man. Corey, good talking to you.